In this video I'm going to show you how I customize the settings of the Manticore for UK detecting. Now I don't want you to get bogged down in copying what I've done absolutely verbatim. I've never been one for actually encouraging people to copy somebody's program, but the settings that I'm going to show you, for instance, how I set up the discrimination and how I set up the tone IDs. Now these are pretty basic but important settings that you can set up and put into this machine. Other settings like recovery rate, like the iron bias, even the sensitivity, they are more dependent on the actual site that you're detecting. So don't get too bogged down in those settings. In this actually, for example, in this this little video presentation, I'm going to set the recovery rate at 6. Now, recovery rate at 6 is great for most sites, especially if there's a lot of junk and a lot of noise from the soil. But once you get onto pasture, you're going to want to slow that down. And another great thing is with the new, all this is done on the new software update with the stabiliser, and the stabiliser has completely revolutionised the way this machine works now. Basically you can actually slow down, for instance, the recovery rate and then add stabiliser to remove the iron noise that usually comes in when you're actually detecting deep targets. Anyway, let's get into this. I'm waffling on a bit. So what we do is we start the machine. So let's do a factory reset to start with, just so you okay, so that's a factory reset. This is as it comes, and what we're going to do is just going to change it around, make it a little bit easier to use for the UK detecting. Okay, so first of all we're going to turn up the volume a bit. We're going to use it in all-terrain general. I'll do another video and explain the other modes, but this is your go-to mode. 9 times out of 10 you'll be using this mode. Okay, noise cancel. We're going to noise cancel now. You can do a single noise cancel, or you can do what I call a rolling noise cancel, where you hold the button down and it goes through several times. Gives the detector more of a chance to actually figure out the best channel. Okay, -6 came up a couple of times, so that's going to be the best channel. Ground balance, we're going to leave it at 0 at the moment. Now what I found with the ground balance is that yes, it can give you better performance. The problem is if you actually set it so that it's higher than the actual true setting of the ground, it will make it very noisy. So it's better off running it at 0 than running it at the wrong setting too high. Okay, so I start off at 0, and then if I want to get the extra performance, then I'll try ground balancing. But at the moment, we're just going to leave it at 0. Recovery speed, 5 is quite a deep setting. I'm going to speed it up a little bit just to reduce the noise a bit and make it a bit quicker. Okay, disc pattern. Now, although I use all metal, I'm going to just adjust this a little bit, just in case I ever do want to put it into discrim mode. And basically, all I want to do is to have the only rejected things I want to reject is coke. So 0, 1, and occasionally 2. So if you have a look at the number there, we're going to go 0, 1, 2. Then when we get to 3, we're going to accept. When we get to 4, we're going to accept. Okay, as standard, it's 0 through to 4 is rejected. So now we've accepted 3 and 4. Okay, ferrous limits. Now this is where you control how much iron you basically detect. And this is quite an aggressive setting, 9 and 4. It's ideal for new users. Now I'm going to adjust it just as a matter of course. The upper limits, I'm going to raise that slightly to 8, and the lower limits, which is mainly there to control things like crown bottle tops, I'm going to reduce that to 2. Okay, so this is my go-to setting. If I'm on pasture and I want to get even more performance out of it, better separation at depth on deep targets, and I don't mind digging a few bits of iron, you know, tricky iron, I will actually open up that top piece, might go to 5 upper limits. That means that that basically good targets that come off of that central line, if it comes off of it, it can be more likely to be iron, but you can have a really good target next to a piece of iron, and that will actually lift it up into this no man's land. So just be aware of that. 8 and 2 is a good start setting. Next setting, it's the ferrous tones. Now this is where some performance can be actually got from this machine. Okay, now ferrous volume, I'm going to reduce that down to 4. So that means all iron tones that come through in all metal will have a high volume of 4. Now the reason that I don't reduce that down to 1 is that if I get a complicated target, a complicated piece of iron, if I reduce that to 1, all the ferrous noise will disappear, and it will actually make a false target sound positive. So leaving it at 4 is just gives me enough iron in it that I can actually say, ah, it sounds positive, but I can hear that iron. It's maybe the TIDs are jumping around, and that will allow me to discriminate it. So 4 is your go-to setting on that. Now, ferrous pitch is, I think at standard, is at 1, which is ideal. And the stabiliser, which is the new feature in the update, standard wise it's at 1. Now I'm going to reduce that to 0 for now. If I was to go on to, if I knew I was going to be detecting, say, a Roman site with loads and loads of iron, with hot rocks, with ceramics that would make it really, really chirpy and noisy, then I would up that to 5. Okay, and I keep the stabiliser filter off, because the filter, whereas the stabiliser will squash that noise, make it disappear, if you put the stabiliser filter on, what it does, it filters it, it drops the volume of it. Now that's all well and good, but if you've got a deep target, then that will also sound just like that iron that you're fading. So I don't particularly like the stabiliser filter. So I would always have stabiliser 5 if I'm going to use it, 4 or 5, and the filter off. Okay. Now, as standard, we have 2 regions all tone. On the Equinox, you had a way of actually doing a tone break. So you could change the point where the tones change between ferrous and non-ferrous. Okay, now I can do that with this, but it needs a little bit of trickery. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have this first line here, I'm going to squeeze it down into this corner, and that's going to be where my tone break is. So let me just show you, and then you will understand. So first one to change is this, and I'm going to reduce that all the way down to 1. So that's a really, really low tone. Okay, I'm then I'm actually going to drop the volume of this all the way down to 4, like the ferrous tone that I had. Okay, and then this one I'm going to edit it obviously, drop it all the way down to 1 as well. Okay, so that's a low tone, and then I'm going to bring it all the way across so it covers just 0, 1 and 2. So we'll take that all the way across to 2. Okay, and then the next one, as you see, starts at pitch 3, which is there, and what we're going to do is bring that down to 10. Okay, and we're going to put this one up to 47. Okay, so basically this has got a big wide difference of tones. Every time you go over a target that's slightly different, you'll get a slightly different tone. Okay, and that's that set up. So this is what it should look like. Okay, audio theme next. What we're going to do is we're going to add a threshold. I find it reassuring to have a threshold, slight threshold. Not because of I'm using it like a traditional threshold where you have a balance, you have the audio and then you're listening for any rise above that threshold. This is more because we're usually using wireless, and if the wireless drops out, I want to be able to hear that it's dropping out. I want to hear if there's a loose connection. I want to hear, if there's something wrong with the audio, I need to hear it instantly. So I like just have a slight buzz in my ear. So I set it at 4. Okay, so sort of 4 or 5, so you just so you can just hear it, and then it just reassures me. It's a personal thing. A lot of people don't like thresholds. Hey, you choose. The pitch of the threshold I want to be nice and low. I want it down there in the iron. I don't want it high so that it's interfering with good targets. Okay, and then the final thing is because I'm a normal medium profile, I want all the information, so I want a rich sound. Okay, but again, this is down to your own choice. This is what I find best, especially on deep pasture when I get like little whisper targets. I like to hear the information that's in there, and I can tell using this what is a good target and what is a bad target, a ferrous target at depth. So for me, this is the way to use this, but it's down to there's no set way of using this machine. You find the best for yourself. Okay, multi-IQ, into general settings, and this is where we're going to customize it a little bit more. I don't like vibration, so I'm not going to use it. The lighting, I'm going to use all the automatic settings. Okay, so that was the display. So you've got the line running across there, so that's automatic. And I'm going to go next, soft keys. Now, the soft keys, I want to put the all metal on that side, I want to put ground balance on that one, and I want to put noise cancel on that one. And that is so simple to do. You just come through to, there's the all metal, press down, come through to ground balance, and there you are, it's all set up. Down onto the ferrous indication, I want red TID numbers, so you just go to the right click and that's it. Come out of there. Okay, so now if you have a look at this, we have ground balance on that button, we have noise cancel on that button, and this one here is all metal. Now the user button also doubles as a shortcut to get into that, that soft key menu. So you press and hold and you're back in there, and you can then adjust it to whatever you want it to be. Okay, and that's it. All the settings are in there. So now all I would do is get to the field, I would switch on the machine, change the sensitivity, noise cancel, maybe ground balance, and away I go. So it's really, really simple now. It's literally switch on and go, basically. Okay, now don't get too bogged down absolutely in all the details of my settings. As I say, the most important ones are the ones that we spent a lot of time on getting right, like the tone IDs and the discrimination pattern. Everything else is there to be adjusted. So if you walked onto a pasture, deep targets, you're going to want to be around about 4 or 5 recovery rates. You want to open up the iron bias, and to get the most out of the machine. So this is just basically the starting point. Anyway, hope you enjoy my settings. If you like this video, please press like, and if you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe. The more interest I get, the more feedback I get, the more likely I am to make more of these videos.